Welcome everybody, I'm Jen Cafferty. Thanks so much for joining us today for Living Free. Whether it's gluten-free, allergen-free, top 8, locally grown, or non-GMO, we're talking about it here. Chef Kendra and Chef Danny take us to the kitchen and we talk to Bay Area food guru Amy Fothergill about good eats throughout the greater San Francisco area. Don't click away from good health and a free life. We're in the Bay Area and Living Free is on the air. Mother's Day is one of the most important days of the year. Kendra, tell us, what are we supposed to do on Mother's Day?
Well, I think on the weekends, everyone thinks brunch, and especially Mother's Day, they think we'll go out to brunch and celebrate. But if you're dealing with any food allergies, it's really tricky to go out and feel like you have a lot of great options because it's just bombarded with pancakes and waffles and all those things that have cream and butter and all that. So at home, you can do a fabulous brunch. You don't have to deal with reservations. And we're going to show you how today.
Perfect.
Yes. So we're going to start with a frittata, which is one of my favorite things in the world to make, even for lunch and dinner too. It's great. It's basically a crustless quiche. So it is an egg base, and then you can throw anything you want in there. If you have leftover chicken, if you have leftover vegetables, cheese, whatever you want. So today we're going to do, I have some leeks here, and we have some baby kale also. Baby kale is one of my favorite things to use for a myriad of things. If you can't find that, baby spinach is just fine.
And I want to, baby kale is so cute.
It's so cute. It makes me so happy. So we have that, and then we have our whisked eggs here. We have a little bit of smoked mozzarella. I like using smoked cheeses because you don't have to use quite as much, and you still get a big punch from that flavor. So it's a little bit lower in fat than if you were just to use a regular mozzarella.
What about if we're dairy-free?
If you're dairy-free, use any other substitute you want. You could leave it out too. It's not necessary for the recipe, but you could also do, goat cheese or sheep's milk if you can tolerate any of those. But there's a couple companies that make some great dairy-free cheeses too. And we have a little bit of roasted pepper also that we're going to assemble into our pan. I want to show you how to char that pepper, how to get it roasted. It's one of my favorite things in the world to show people because it's so simple. And you just do it at home on the stove. If you don't have a gas stove, you can do it on your grill. You can also do it under the broiler. But you literally just put it on top of your stove and char the outside off.
That's perfect.
So it's going to take a few minutes, and while we're doing that, I already have our pan preheated because we know that's very important. That's preheated, and we're going to start sautéing our vegetables for the frittata. So we have a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to start with, typically you want to start with your onion, whatever flavor that is. So a leek or a yellow onion, whatever that might be. But I do want to prevent that baby kale from getting in there. So we're going to start by just sautéing that, and then we're going to add in, just briefly, the kale, just to get it a little bit wilted.
So with the leek,
yes.
If we don't have a leek at home?
Yellow onion, shallot. Green onion is delicious. One of my favorite frittatas is with poblano peppers, green onions. It's delicious. And a little bit of cumin. Tasty. So we're just going to sauté that guy up for a little bit, get those soft.
I can smell the pepper.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
great.
love it. Let's actually check that pepper real quick. And you can see how it's starting to get a little bit black and charred. You want the entire pepper to look like that. And then I'll show you how to put it in a bag so it steams off and you can just wipe the outside right off.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great, and it smells so lovely. I love how it...
And we don't have to worry about it catching on fire?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
You're totally fine. The only thing you want to watch, you don't want it to turn white because then you literally have charred the entire thing off.
Charred the pepper. All right.
Okay, so our leeks look fantastic. I'm going to just throw in this baby kale until it just wilts. We're going to put in our already roasted peppers just to get everything all mixed together. And we're actually going to pull this out. So whatever you put in your frittata, you just saute in until it looks nice and lovely and whatever doneness you'd like it to be at.
The colors are beautiful.
Oh, I love it. The red and the green, it's just beautiful. So we're going to pop that out real quick. Make sure that our pan, you always want to use a nonstick pan. Don't even try this in a metal pan. You will not be happy and you'll curse me. So a nonstick pan. A little bit more oil just so it comes out nicely once we get it out of the oven.
Can we use spray? Spray oil?
You can use spray. What I prefer actually is if people get those do-it-yourself, like the misters. Yes, because then you're not dealing with the propellants. The problem is there's propellants in there that help them exit the actual can. And they end up getting, if you have like a little rim of little dots that are sticky on your nonstick pans, that's what it's from.
Aha.
Yes. So if you can do one that is without propellant, or if you get the one that's just like an air pump, that's much preferred.
Right.
Let's check our pepper real quick before we put the eggs in. See how nice that looks?
Ooh,
that's great. It's really, really starting to get nice and black. So we're gonna turn that over.
It is so neat.
Let him keep going. All right, now we have 6 whisked eggs. If you want to add in a little bit of rice milk or a little bit of water, that's fine. It gives it a little bit more leavening. I typically just do eggs in there. Pepper's talking to us.
It is. Do you hear it sizzling? It's neat.
So the eggs are in there. We're gonna let that set for just a minute or two so the bottom has a nice surface on there. Then we add our ingredients back in, pop it in the oven for about 10 minutes.
So Kendra, what do we do with this nice roasted pepper?
I know, look at that. It looks crazy and it looks like something you could never eat, but I'm gonna show you how to get the skin off. We're just gonna pop it in a plastic bag. You could do the same thing in a glass bowl, and then you just wanna cover that up. You wanna make sure that it's closed off so the skin can steam off.
Okay.
And then all you do at the end is wipe it off with a paper towel. Easy peasy.
Perfect.
And then you chop it up. It's great in salads, the frittatas, all that good stuff.
I always buy it in a jar, so it's
You can.
That's easy.
The nice thing about this is you get more of that smoky flavor, because in the jar it's packed in water. It's a great time saver, but if you have the time to do this, absolutely do that one. The frittata, I think, is probably ready and delicious. So let's take a peek and see. Our cheese is nice and melted on top. Let me just, there we go. I love it, I love it. You can see the red peppers in there, the baby kale, and then that smoked mozzarella.
It's really pretty.
And if you want to do more eggs, it'll just end up being fluffier. I mean, you can do this for 2 people, 10 people. Frittatas are great.
Perfect.
So we're gonna let that rest, set that off to the side. Now what we're gonna do is tackle our pineapple.
All right.
Yes.
Show them what to
So,
do.
a pineapple, which always seems so scary. I'm gonna show you how to cut this. It's also the same way you cut melons. It's very easy. Cut the top and the bottom off. Just put that off to the side, and now you have a nice flat surface. So anytime you're cutting something that's round, it's kind of roly-poly, get a flat surface, it's much easier to cut. So then you just cut the outside off, get all those little eyes out, go all the way around. Be careful to watch your fingers. And then, once it's all off, you have that little eye of the pineapple that's right in the middle. You want to cut, you can kind of use it like a target. You cut right through there.
So just cut right through the core.
Cut right through the core.
Perfect.
Yep, and you'll see it's a little circle. Push 3 of these segments off to the side. And then you just take one segment, let's clear off that little board. You take the one segment, cut that core off, and then you can do, you can cut it however you need. You can trim off any more of the pineapple if you need. And then you can slice it into wedges, into chunks.
Super, super easy,
It's
and you
so
don't
easy.
have to pay for it already to be
You don't,
sliced.
and you really get so much more pineapple with it. So we're just gonna cut that, put it in with our beautiful watermelon. This is how I like to do fruit salads now. It's so much more interesting than if you just have,
So no more green grapes and...
Ugh, no.
No.
And this is so, and I bet you'll have plenty of this to last you through the week. So you have some watermelon, some pineapple, throw in some fresh mint. You can mince it up if you want.
I really, really, really love mint.
I love mint, and it's so pretty. You just put a little green on top. It looks so lovely. If you have basil from your garden, maybe in the summer, you can throw some basil in there. That's delicious. And then maybe zest a little orange, zest a little lime. Get some fresh fruit zest in there to kind of pop it up. And look how pretty that looks.
It's beautiful.
So much better than just your standard fruit salad. So now you have your beautiful fruit salad, and it's the watermelon and the pineapple with a little bit of mint and some fresh orange. You can use lime zest, lemon zest, just a little something to perk it up.
Love it.
Love it. And it's so beautiful and refreshing. And finally, my favorite part of a brunch, really. I love the muffins, the scones, all that deliciousness. So here we have a blueberry lemon ginger muffin. which I love. I think it's just delicious. The ginger is very refreshing. The blueberry is so pretty, and if it's in season and you can get fresh blueberries, even better. Just make sure to toss them with a little bit of the flour before you put them in so they don't all sink to the very bottom.
Ah.
And this recipe is actually made with, it has a little almond flour in it. Now, if you can't do nuts, you could use sorghum flour, you can use buckwheat. Buckwheat would actually be great because it would add a little caramel note to it. So
They're really good, super moist.
really, really moist, yes.
They
it will
are
make
delicious.
any mom happy. So
Well,
happy Mother's Day.
She's the one-stop source for practically everything gluten-free in the Bay Area. Instructor, food blogger, chef, and soon-to-be gluten-free cookbook author. Hello, Amy Fothergill.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Really excited.
You've been involved in the food business a long time.
Yes, I went to the Cornell Hotel School where I studied culinary. I was in the food service business for a long time. And then after my family was born, I merged my past two careers and I became the family chef. And while that happened, my daughter was diagnosed with a gluten intolerance and dairy and eggs, so I had to figure it out.
We're here at Zest Bakery today in San Carlos. Why do you choose Zest?
Oh my gosh, this place is great. So it's a place I can bring my kids and they can get anything here. It's completely 100% gluten-free and they have a lot of dairy-free options, which is really good for my daughter. We come in and get bread, we get cookies, sometimes quiche, they have pizzas, all sorts of delicious things so that I don't have to do the baking at home.
What about South American ethnic cuisine that's 100% gluten-free?
There's a great place that's in the Mission called Pica Pica Maize Kitchen. And the owner, Adriana, is very knowledgeable. Her grandmother had celiac disease, so she started off long before it was trendy. She decided to make it 100% gluten-free, so it's really safe for people.
I come from a family of cooks and restaurateurs. My dad is my business partner. He owned restaurants in Venezuela. A week after my daughter was born, we decided to join forces and do something together. In the Bay Area, people don't know anything about arepas or food from Venezuela. There's no point of reference in their minds. So our first test was to see if people would like the food. And the answer so far has been yes. People, I think, were attracted to us because our main ingredient is corn, which is naturally gluten-free. And I realized that this had personal relevance to me because my grandmother had celiac. It's a family business and everything resonates with our family experience. Understanding that need and being able to serve that niche community has been very good for us. We offer food that is naturally gluten-free. We offer the same menu without changing anything or giving priority to one or another. It's our authentic core menu fits all of those needs. What I want people to understand is that by virtue of being vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, it doesn't mean that you have to eat bad food. You should eat those foods by choice or because you have to without compromise. You should always have an enjoyable meal, and that's what we try to give people. So maybe just by looking at the food, you'll get a sense of that, and hopefully you'll get to try it later.
What are your absolute top favorite places in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Yeah. Well, being someone who loves to go out to eat, it's been a lot of fun. The last couple of years, things have just exploded. One of my favorite places is Mariposa Bakery. They just have all sorts of things. They have breads and they make really good bagels. And they have lots of different cakes and cookies, so you can find almost anything there.
So Patty Fury Crane started Mariposa in 2004. She was diagnosed with MS, and she discovered that going on a gluten-free diet alleviated most of her symptoms. So she didn't really find a lot in the market at that time that was kind of a higher quality gluten-free baked good, and she was craving sweets, so she just started baking. And her husband convinced her that it would be a great idea to start a bakery and offer really high quality artisan goods. The awareness of gluten intolerance was just barely kind of beginning at that point. You could just see over the first year or 2 years when I started working with Mariposa that suddenly it wasn't just, we didn't have to explain what gluten-free was anymore. Buyers knew.
Customers were demanding it. We were a wholesale company, and when we built out this kitchen, we actually built this retail space just sort of as an experiment. We actually didn't know if anyone would even come in the door. We're sort of in an alley. We didn't have a sign for maybe 6 months. We didn't have a screen door, we had a steel door, but lo and behold, people started coming. So that allowed us to do a lot more, not only to meet our customers, see what they wanted, try new things and get feedback from them. But what we've grown most in the last year, I would say, is our food service component. So we've started to service restaurants and pizzerias with our breads, rolls, pizza crusts. And that also opens up a whole other door to people being able to find food that they can eat, that's safe and that's high quality, where they want to already go out to eat. Instead of having to come to us, they can go out with their family.
It's really hard to find a good gluten-free Italian restaurant.
It sure is, but there's a place in San Francisco called Bacco. They have delicious gluten-free pastas. They even bring you gluten-free bread to the table, and they're very good about training the staff so you can feel really comfortable there. And if you go, tell Luca that I sent you.
When I started here, I was just a server and covering up for the owners every time they go on vacation, days off as a manager. It's a great restaurant. The food is really good. 60-70% of my customers are local. So I'm like on first name base with these people. So it doesn't really feel like I'm coming to work anymore. But it's a fun place to be, and I haven't found anything else like it, so I'm stuck here. And I follow these diets called paleo diets, and one of the staples is gluten-free food. And every time I go home, I see how much gluten-free options are offered in my own country. We test for celiac disease on all our newborn. So it's very much awareness back home, so I thought, why not bring it over here? No one's doing it on a commercial scale. So I started putting some specials and kind of test the market, and next thing I know, I was getting people calling me from all over the place because the word started spreading so quickly, and it's been great since then. The people that come here, tourists from different countries, they Google and they found us. So I have people coming from all over the world coming here and have gluten-free dinner. People love it. I mean, I had people hugging me and say, well, I haven't had gnocchi gluten-free for like 20 years, so it's really rewarding. It's really cool.
Oh, I love Miglet's Bakery. That's in Danville, and they have delicious and quite decadent cakes and cupcakes and donuts and cookies and all sorts of treats.
So my mom has celiac disease, and she's had it for over 10 years now. So I grew up in a gluten-free home, baking gluten-free pretty much all my life. So my mom and my dad founded the Taylor Family Foundation. It's a camp for children with life-threatening illnesses, and each week a different organization comes in and uses it, whether it be skin disease or celiac disease. So that's how I got my start, was actually working in the kitchen at camp, and at the celiac camp I was baking all the gluten-free goods. And I was doing that for 2 years. And one of the moms said, you should put out a flyer, you should just see how it goes, because everything you make here for camp is really delicious. And so I did that, and I put this little flyer out in the goodie bag for every kid to take home. And I was working a different job at that point, and it got so overwhelming with all the orders that people were asking me to do that I actually had to quit that job and start doing my business full time. And so that's when Miglets really became Miglets. It's a nickname from when I was young, and it's something that just stuck. I wanted something different, something that people would remember, and something really kid-oriented, because I volunteered at the camp, and so most of my clients were actually kids. We're a dedicated facility, but we also cater to multiple allergies. We do egg, dairy, soy, corn, nut-free items. We also can do like rice-free or tapioca-free items as well. Pretty much anything under the sun, if you want it, we'll make it. And then we also added a grocery, because it's like a one-stop shop. People can come in, they can get their bread, they can get a sandwich, they can get a cupcake, and go out and they're on their way. We're really lucky. Our clients are definitely some of the kindest, most excited, fun-loving people, and they truly, they know all of us by name, and it's kind of like creating a little family here, because everybody that comes in, they come in to see us and to be able to get the help they need, and they know they're going to get it from us, because we know our stuff.
Most people don't know anything about enzymes. Today I have with me enzyme expert and educator Tom Bohager. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What the heck's an enzyme?
What's an enzyme? Well, enzymes are proteins. So they are a combination of amino acids, and they're defined as catalysts, which typically means they speed up chemical reactions. So digestively speaking, enzymes allow us to benefit from our foods much faster than we would without enzymes. They're the proteins that break down foods. Enzymes provide the body with an efficient way to benefit from the nutrition in their food. So anybody that's eating, in my opinion, should take an enzyme because it relieves a lot of stress to the digestive system. It conserves energy, digestively speaking, and it feeds the body with the opportunity to utilize that energy elsewhere for immune function or endocrine function or something like that. But the most obvious person that should be taking an enzyme is somebody with a digestive complaint that suffers from gas or bloating or indigestion or has a food intolerance.
What about autism and enzymes?
We're very involved with the autism community at Enzymedica. We support Autism Hope Alliance and Generation Rescue and TACA and Autism Treatment Center of America. And the primary reason for that is about 80% of the children that are diagnosed with autism suffer from digestive distress, usually severe digestive distress. And as you know, those 80%, about 70% of those individuals benefit from removing gluten and casein from their diet. We see dramatic improvements when casein and gluten is removed from the diet, but sometimes it's impossible to remove it all. The exposure is everywhere, and parents can't always read every label. So Enzymedica makes products that in the event that that child should get gluten or casein or dairy that they weren't intending to get, there's enzymes that will help them get past the obvious symptoms associated with that intolerance. Enzymes are detoxifiers as well. They remove the stuff we don't need in food, the preservatives and the chemicals, and then they help us reduce the amount of energy needed to benefit from that food. So if people are feeling sluggish or tired, especially after a large meal, enzymes are going to help people feel much better, much more energy as a result.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
For explaining what enzymes are.
Well,
I
thank
think
you for the
it was
invite.
very confusing for people. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So Kathy, so many people we don't have energy.
Yeah.
Is there something, are there foods? What can we do?
Absolutely. We can do so many things. I tell my clients, you change what you eat, you can change your life. So super, super easy things that you can do is really make sure you're eating every couple of hours. So every time you eat, you want to make sure you have a little bit of protein, a little bit of complex carbohydrate, and a little bit of fat.
What is a complex carbohydrate?
That's an awesome question. Typically, a complex carbohydrate is anything that comes out of the ground. So that can be, rice, it can be an apple, it can be, even your greens will have a little bit of complex carbohydrate in it.
What are some superfoods we can be eating?
Yay! Okay, so I love Sacha inchi seeds. They're a tiny little seed that grows in South America and has 13 times more omega-3 than salmon. So it gives you more energy, increased brain function, and it's unbelievable for energy. So I tell a lot of my clients, just have, 2 or 3 of those mid-afternoon when you're getting that slump. Huge difference. Another one, green tea. And you don't often think of it as a food, but what I get a lot of my people to do and a lot of recipes I do is I'll make green tea and a recipe asks for water, like in baking, let's say, I use green tea instead because it's a natural antioxidant that will give you increased energy all day. It's really, really neat. Kale. I am crazy for kale.
I love kale too. Kale is fabulous.
It's good, eh? Like it's so nutritious for you and it's loaded in trace vitamins and minerals that'll really increase the woman's energy.
What about other supplements? I've heard of maca. What is that?
Huge fan of maca. So maca is a Peruvian herb. It's like a ginseng. It's called an adaptogen herb because if you need more energy, this herb will give it to you. If you need to have decreased energy, because you're feeling nervous, this herb will give it to you well because it nourishes something called your adrenal glands, which are glands that sit on top of the kidneys. And many times, a lot of us have those adrenals overworked and it releases something called cortisol. That's a hormone that makes you store body fat on the tummy. Maca gets rid of that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Great.
It was awesome. Thank you.
other comfort food is an essential for every home. Chef Dan, teach us how to do this well. Also meat. I think people need help with meat.
Meat, it's really easy to do, and everybody overthinks it. They think that it's this difficult thing to do. It's not. It's real simple. So the main thing, what we're doing today, we're going to make braised beef short ribs with whipped sweet potatoes and then caramelized Brussels sprouts. So it's really folly, and it's just melt in your mouth delicious. So the first step to doing this will be to season the meat. And when you do a braise, you have to make sure you season it very well. Otherwise, you're not going to get any flavor out of it. Because once you put the liquid in there, all the seasoning washes off.
Aha, I didn't know that.
So here we have some granulated garlic and onion, some smoked paprika, salt, and pepper. And I want you to just go ahead and mix that in a bowl.
Ooh,
Don't put all the salt in there, but.
Okay.
And while she's doing that, I'll just explain a little bit. We have some mirepoix here that we're gonna put into the braise with some garlic, tomato paste, bay leaves, peppercorns, and some herbs to finish it off.
I'm moving slow.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I'm trying. Not all the salt, you said.
Not all the salt. Just
okay.
about half, a little bit more, about half of that. And then one thing you need to worry about is making sure your pan's hot. It's really hot right now. You want it to be smoking because you want to get a nice sear on it so it doesn't fall apart in the oven. It'll be cooking for about 3 hours, so nice and low.
Okay, I mixed.
Okay, so
now
go
what
ahead
do
and put that into that other pan next to there.
The meat?
This seasoning. Put it into that pan.
Okay.
Just like that.
Yep.
And then what you're going to do is take your meat and you're going to press it in, season it, coat it very well on both sides. Get dirty. Get dirty with
Good
it.
thing I just washed my hands.
And while she's doing that, I'm going to put the olive oil in the pan.
So I'm just pushing it down here.
Push it down.
All
Just massage it in there.
right. Ooh.
You see how that pan's smoking? That's what you want. You want it to smoke so you get a nice sear on it.
All right.
You can just go ahead and put one piece in there. Doesn't matter what side, just put it in and let it sizzle. Look at that. Just move it around. So you don't want to overcrowd the pan. You want to just put, 4 pieces for this pan would be perfectly fine. If you overcrowd it, it won't cook.
Ooh. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's puffing up.
Yes. That's the fat on the back part of it. It starts shrinking and it'll make it puff up. But it's not very important to worry about the fat because it's going to braise for 3 hours and you won't even know. So you can go ahead and hand me the other ones there.
Okay.
Just go ahead and put it in.
Ooh, I splashed.
Splatter, splatter. And one more. There you go.
Oh my goodness, I really
So be
splattered.
careful when you're doing this at home because the oil, of course, can create fire. Just want to make sure you're not splashing all over the stove like some people do. I'm just kidding.
That'd be me.
So see, you want to get a nice sear. There's some color on it. And that's important to do. Like I said, it won't wash the flavor off the meat.
So they're doing this until there is the brown color on it.
Yeah, just a little sear on it, and because, like I said, it's going to cook for a long time in the oven. So what you want to do with these when they're seared is put them in your pan, your roasting pan.
How long on each side to sear?
About 3 minutes. 3 minutes on each side should do it. That's what I said. You got to get your pan hot. If your pan's not hot, you won't get that same sear on it.
Okay.
So you want to leave this on, let it stay hot, and then you're going to add your vegetables, little carrots and celery. And you can just rough chop these because they're not going to be in the final.
So they don't have to chop them up real fine.
No,
Ooh, I
just
like
rough
that.
chop, real rustic. That's how I like to cook.
Perfect.
Little garlic.
A little garlic, like 12
Doesn't that
cloves
smell
of
good?
garlic. It
I wish you guys
smells
could
great.
smell
I
that at
wish you
home
could
because
smell
it's
it too.
phenomenal.
Smells really good.
All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to deglaze it with some red wine.
Just a little red wine.
You need a lot. You need a lot of that. So let that come up a little bit, and then you're just going to take that and pour it over these short ribs like that.
That's it?
That's it. See how simple that was?
Ooh, I love that. So simple.
Okay, now what
That's
you
so
can
simple.
do is you can take this and wrap it with foil and then put it in a 350 degree oven for about 3 hours. Check at about hour and a half just to see how cooked they are, and then go from there. So it's real simple.
So to go with our short ribs, we're going to make sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, and I know a lot of you at home don't like them, you're afraid of them. So Danny, tell us, how do we make this fabulous?
Well, we're going to start with the sweet potatoes. What you want to do is just take them and put them on a sheet tray, or cookie sheet, and you're going to roast them in the oven for about an hour and a half at 350 degrees. Real simple. You don't have to put any olive oil on it, any salt, pepper, or anything. Just put them in the oven like they are. When they come out, they're going to be like wrinkly like this. Skin's going to be a little hard once they come out originally. And then what we're going to do is we're going to peel them. You want to just take the skin off. It's real simple to do. There's no...
Wow, it just really
it just
peels.
comes, and you want that darkness, the caramelization. That's what you want.
I love
Little
that.
sugary. It brings out the sugar in the potatoes. And
Hence the name.
Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes. So let me just wipe my hands here. And then we're going to take these and put them in our stand mixer. Now, I like using a stand mixer because it gives it a nice whip. But if you are at home and don't have one, you can definitely do them like you do mashed potatoes with a masher. You know, very traditional. So
Get your muscle out.
yeah. So what we're going to add to this is a little bit of brown sugar. And you can add how much you want. You can not put it in if you want. A little bit of cinnamon. It's very strong, so you don't want to put too much. Salt, pepper. Some fresh pepper in there. And then what we're going to do is, for people that can't have dairy, we're going to add this wonderful Earth Balance dairy or butter substitute. And this, just maybe for 2 sweet potatoes, maybe a tablespoon.
But they could use butter.
They can use butter. I can do both ways. So just take this and whip it up.
And that is so simple.
It's very simple. You can do it with your eyes closed almost. And you want the potatoes to be a little warm so the butter melts. If they're cold, the butter won't melt. It won't get nice and creamy. If you want to just turn it off and give it a little scrape down, just so you get the sides.
Nice. If they can't have sugar or brown sugar, a little bit of maple syrup?
Yes, maple syrup works well as well. And
Beautiful.
then an awesome something that complements this dish very well is the Brussels sprouts that I will show you how to make right now.
This is exciting because I know so many of you are fearful of Brussels sprouts, and I swear these taste great.
So, the way we're going to do them, what you want to do is get raw Brussels sprouts and blanch them. Blanching means to cook them in salted water for about 10 to 15 minutes until they're semi-cooked. You don't want them to be cooked all the way. You want them to have a little bite.
Whole Brussels sprouts.
Whole Brussels sprouts, just like this.
Boiling water.
Boiling water, salt.
Salt.
Lots of salt
Okay.
in the water. And then what you're going to do after they're cooked and cooled, you're just going to cut them in half like that. Very simple, and then you have the finished product here. What we're going to do is add a little olive oil to a hot pan. And this is where the term caramelization comes from. So see how it's smoking?
I think anything caramelized tastes better. I'm convinced of this, so.
So you want to get them smoking, and be careful because they will splatter. Oh, there's one that wasn't cut. Look at that.
That's okay.
So what you want to do is sear them on the flat side.
Oh, they're already searing.
Yes, they'll sear pretty fast.
Wow.
You can add one more in there. And while this is going on, you can just season them with a little salt and pepper. And I'll show you how to finish them. What I do is I use a chicken stock. You can use a vegetable stock, whatever kind of stock you want to use. But you'll see the sear. See how they start caramelizing? See a nice color on it. And then you're going to take a little bit of chicken stock and finish them off here. Just like that.
Look at that. Oh, it smells. Now I can smell it.
Now you smell the
smells
fall.
so
And then
good,
what we do
yeah.
is just finish it with a little bit of butter or butter substitute. So those are done. See, they're done. So you're blanching them, cooking them first, and then they're pretty much done, like 5 minutes total.
I love
after
that.
it's done.
Show us how to make the plate look pretty, because I think we make all this food at home and then we never know how to put it on a pretty plate. So
That's going to be done right now. So we'll take our sweet potatoes, and I like to just kind of Put it on one side and just give it a little smear, like that.
The smear.
The smear. I love it. I love doing the
Love
smear.
a good schmear, yeah.
So then we take our nice braised short ribs,
Yum.
put it right on top of that, and then we take our Brussels sprouts, put them over here. And then what we do is we have a little bit of our natural juice that was the cooking liquid for the Brussels sprouts. So what you do is once this is done, you can strain it and then put it on a stovetop and reduce it by half or a little more until it gets kind of gravy-like. And if you want, add a little tomato paste to it. It'll help thicken it up without having any flour.
So that's why it's red from the tomato paste.
Correct. We're just going to put it on top.
That's a great way to thicken something without adding flour. Which
Definitely.
is
And
really
I
neat.
like using it because it's natural. You don't have to add anything to it. It's a natural thickener. And reductions, I'm a big fan of reductions. You just naturally reduce the product.
Well, I also like that you're reusing instead of throwing it out.
Right.
You're using it again.
So you're making the gravy, and then so that's your dish right here.
That's great. Thank you so much. The Taylor Family Foundation is doing great work in Northern California. I am so excited to have Elaine Taylor here today.
Thank you.
How did you get started with all of this?
You know, we started 23 years ago, and it was basically San Francisco and the Bay Area had just the highest population of children with AIDS. So we started our own foundation. It was primarily to help children with AIDS. About 7 years into doing this, being their primary source of funding, we realized that nobody would let them go to camp. And so we funded a camp for a couple years, and it was just not the conditions you would want to send your child to. So I kind of had this brainchild of, oh, let's just build a camp. And that took us 3 years to do. So at the time that we started the master plan and then got that going, there were about 900 to 1,000 Bay Area children infected or affected with HIV/AIDS. By the time we opened the doors 3 years later, there were less than 300. Today, there are less than 30. And now we had this camp, and we could fill 2 weeks of it. And so it was like, okay, we've got to fill it up. So when we were looking at populations of children, and this was about 11 years ago that we really were trying to figure out who couldn't get there, I got diagnosed with celiac disease. And of course went into that immediate pity party and started looking around here because if I was diagnosed, obviously there were children who were diagnosed. So I spoke at Stanford a couple of times and finally got these people on board. Set out to start our first celiac camp, which we're going to have our 7th this year. We were full in like 3 days. And it was just so impactful to me that 150 people could sign up that fast, and now we have a huge waiting list. And so camp is a typical camp. There's nothing different about it. You know, there's trips to the lake, and there's s'mores, and there's talent night, and ropes course, music therapy. But the kitchen is 100% safe. And I run the kitchen those 2 weeks. And so that said, wowing these children has become the biggest challenge I have. You know, I know that food is so critical to them and so important. And so I just want it to dazzle them. That's what I want to do.
Well, the world is a better place with you in it.
Thank you,
So
thank you
for taking care of our children.
Oh, thanks so much.
Over 10 years ago, Hugh recognized that not all gluten-sensitive people have celiac disease. I'd like to welcome Dr. Kenneth Fine.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dr. Ken. So, tell me what symptoms some people have that come to see you, and you're like, maybe you've got gluten sensitivity.
When celiac disease was the only disease known to be from gluten, there was mostly intestinal symptoms, but with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, the symptoms tend to fall in a general category of neuropsychiatric problems, abdominal syndromes and symptoms, asthma and autoimmune problems, any glandular problems, and skin problems. An acronym that I use to remember is NAGS, N-A-A-G-S. What I tell people today is that any unexplained symptom or unexplained disease today we need to be thinking about gluten particularly and other of the main antigenic food sensitivities.
So if somebody at home is sitting there and they're not feeling well, who do you recommend they go and see to try and figure out what is bothering them?
I gave up my academic career for bringing this truth, which I now call the gluten truth, as you know, to the public. I started a medical laboratory, as you know, called enterolab.com, so people could access not only the information that we provide, but also testing from their home. That's really the main function we want to be present for, is when people can't seem to either get their practitioner to pay attention or the tests remain negative. Well, we know that the blood tests are only positive about 10% of the time, whereas the stool test that we offer might uncover that 5 to 7 times more commonly. So I wish I could say that there were a large number of sources to go to, but you know, when it comes to gluten sensitivity and things related to the diet, I actually think that the public information is ahead of the medical information. There's a lot more being shared by people with the problem than the medical profession at this point.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Things